Imagine God telling you to marry someone he knows will betray you, not as punishment, but as a message. In Hosea chapter 1, verse 2, God commands the prophet Hosea to marry a promiscuous woman. This isn't allegory invented after the fact. It's a life deliberately orchestrated as prophecy, a prophetic sign act where the prophet's biography becomes the theological statement. What could demand that kind of sacrifice? To understand why God would issue such a command, we need to know where and when Hosea was speaking. Hosea prophesied in the northern kingdom of Israel during the mid-8th century BCE. King Jeroboam II presided over a period of prosperity, but it was a mirage. To the northeast, the Assyrian Empire was expanding aggressively, swallowing smaller states one by one. Within a few decades, Assyria would destroy the northern kingdom entirely. Samaria fell in 722 BCE. Politically, Israel was unstable. Religiously, it was worse. The people worshipped Baal alongside or instead of wage. Hosea was a northern prophet delivering God's indictment to his own people in their own land as the clock ran out. Into this world of political chaos and religious betrayal, Hosea's family becomes a living oracle. God commands Hosea to marry Gomer, a woman of promiscuity. She bears 3 children, and each child receives a name that functions as a prophetic decree, and not a personal name, but a message from God to the nation. The severity escalates with each birth. The first child is named Jezreel, a place name. Jezreel was the site of a bloody political massacre carried out by the house of Jehu. The name signals God will punish Israel's ruling dynasty for that violence. It's a political warning. The second child is named Lo-ruhamah, meaning not loved or not shown compassion. God withdraws emotional care from the nation. This is no longer just political, it's personal. The third child is named Lo-ammi, not my people. This is devastating. It reverses the foundational covenant formula. You shall be my people and I will be your God. Lo-ammi undoes that bond entirely. The escalation is unmistakable. Political judgment, then withdrawal of love, then total rejection. These children's very existence is a walking indictment of Israel. But why marriage? Why not some other metaphor for betrayal? The answer lies in a single Hebrew word, brit, covenant. In the ancient Near East, marriage was a brit, a binding agreement between 2 parties with obligations, loyalty expectations, and legal consequences for violation. The God-Israel relationship forged at Sinai was also a brit. Same word, same structure. This means Hosea can frame idolatry as adultery, not as a loose analogy, but as a precise legal and emotional parallel. If the children's names are the indictment, chapter 2 is the trial, and the verdict is anything but straightforward. Chapter 2 opens with a formal divorce declaration. She is not my wife, and I am not her husband. In the ancient Near Eastern legal context, this formula didn't describe a divorce, it enacted one. Speaking these words dissolved the marriage. God is legally terminating the covenant. And then God brings a riv, a formal lawsuit, against Israel, listing her offenses. She chased after other lovers, credited Baal for the grain and wine that God had provided. But then, almost without warning, the tone shifts. The same chapter that pronounces divorce contains some of the most tender language in all of prophetic literature. I will allure her, bring her into the wilderness, and speak tenderly to her. I will betroth you to me forever, in righteousness and justice, in goodness and mercy. The emotional whiplash is staggering. Scholars have called chapter 2 almost schizophrenic in its register. This is the theological heart of Hosea. God depicted not as a detached judge, but as a wounded spouse, furious, heartbroken, and unable to fully let go. Some readers assume the divorce in chapter 2 means God permanently abandons Israel. That misses the book's central tension. The divorce formula is legally real and theologically devastating, but the same chapter pivots to reconciliation. Hosea deliberately refuses to let rejection be the final word. God's justice and God's love are in genuine unresolved conflict. The tension is the point. A word about the metaphor itself. The marriage image is powerful, but it's also troubling. Chapter 2 includes imagery of stripping, public shaming, and confinement directed at the unfaithful wife. By modern standards, this language is disturbing. Serious readers grapple with both dimensions, the metaphor's theological force and its gendered violence. The Hebrew text compounds the difficulty. Hosea is widely considered the most linguistically challenging prophetic book, with passages so garbled that translation remains uncertain. Hosea gave the biblical tradition something it never let go of. The idea that God's relationship with a people can be understood through the most intimate human bond. This marriage as covenant metaphor reappears in Jeremiah, where God remembers Israel's youthful devotion. It returns in Ezekiel with an extended allegory of Jerusalem as an unfaithful wife. It arguably echoes into the New Testament, where the church is described as a bride. Hosea is the origin point. The biblical authors chose marriage, not kingship, not friendship, not parenthood, as the primary metaphor for covenant. That choice says something profound about the expectations, vulnerabilities, and emotional stakes of the divine-human relationship. And the book of Hosea never fully resolves whether reconciliation wins out over divorce. That ambiguity mirrors the ongoing unfinished drama of faithfulness and betrayal.